Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Eliza Build Stuff. So, today we're doing something that is a bit ambitious. So, I was sort of testing the limits of different things that you could potentially be able to do with the Sims 4 builder by doing what I'm calling a treehouse village, or I also was thinking about calling it a treehouse complex or like compound, but compound sounded a little too culty. And this is just supposed to be a multi-room family house where every single room is a different treehouse, so situated on a different tree, but all connected with sort of bridges and stairs and different things like that. So bridges would have been really cute if there actually kind of was like a swaying bridge type thing in The Sims, but pretty much all I could do was make like walk paths, but that worked pretty well as bridges. So the first thing I did is I raised the elevation a little bit just so I could get some different levels, because I didn't want every single little treehouse segment to be on the same level. I wanted you to have to walk up and down to get to them. And so I put these three on different levels and then I flattened the ground and built the other ones. Mostly because I could have had them all kind of on different levels, but the Sims builder isn't exactly created for you to do different things like this. And it was really complicated for me to figure out, kind of trial and error, how to get all of these houses connected when they're on different levels like this. Because as you know, the Sims really doesn't like it when you put things on different levels. We don't even really technically have split level houses yet. Or split level, the ability to do split level. You can sort of delete the floor and put a floor texture down on the ground. But, building things that are truly split level is really difficult in The Sims. So I just flattened the ground after a while, and then I cut out a ton of trial and error. Like, I obsessively edited this video because there were so many times when I would try something and then it was just red, and then I'd have to delete everything. And so if the video seems a bit jumbled, then that's why. Is because I had to do a lot of cutting out of things that just didn't work. For example, this right here, I had accidentally deleted the floor, but I didn't notice, and so I was like, "Oh, great! Do I just have to leave that little square foundation there, and I can't actually get rid of it?" So I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll leave it there, and I'll cover it with like a bush or something." But come to find out later, when I was doing sort of final details, that I had actually just deleted the floor, and so that's why the stairs kept wanting to pop down every time I try to delete that little piece of foundation. So I'll figure that out later, as you will see. But I wanted there to be a lot of balconies, a lot of nice outdoor area for this sort of treehouse, and I specifically chose this sort of seaside remote area in Windenburg because it wasn't in a neighborhood, it wasn't near streets and roads. I figured this could be sort of this land doesn't have the live off the land trait, but it could. Or it sort of lends itself to that type of thing where it's just remote and far away from everything else, and it's on that cliff face and it looks out over the ocean and it's so gorgeous. I'm pretty sure it's in Windenburg. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but I'm almost 100% sure that this lot is in Windenburg. Um, so as we move forward, I will constantly be accidentally deleting the trees and putting them back. So don't get annoyed by that because it's just going to keep happening. And then also, every time you see a tree go really dark, like a couple of these are, it's because they have jumped up to the second floor level and the game thinks that they're inside. So there's indoor lighting being applied to the trees, and that's why they're all weird and dark like that. At this point in the video, I had not figured that out. And so that's why when I delete the first floor of a lot of these little treehouse rooms, there will be no tree underneath it, and it's because the tree has jumped up to the second floor. But by the time we finish, I'll have figured all that out. Yeah, and so if this house is available for download on the gallery, a couple of warnings though. I did not play test it, and also I just feel like it would be kind of difficult to play in because of all the tree cover. It's kind of hard to see everything going on at once in your house, and it's kind of hard to get from one place to another. This was kind of just an experiment that I wanted to try, and I'm glad that I did it, but I don't think that I'd necessarily actually play with some Sims in here, but if you want to give it a go, I am on the gallery under Eliza Build Stuff. It's the same name, and I'm pretty sure I called this um, Treehouse Complex, Treehouse Family Complex, or something like that. So just try those words and then download it and let me know if you like it or if something doesn't work. Then let me know, but be nice about it because I didn't play test this because I prefer building more to actually playing The Sims. Although, if I was a nice, responsible person, I would have play tested it for you guys. But you guys can do that yourselves, and then you can, change things around. So later, you'll see that this house. I'm calling it a house. It's kind of a, like just collection of houses in a way, but I'm just going to call it a house. This house has a master bedroom, a children's room with two beds in it, two child beds, and a another sort of, I'm calling it the guest bedroom, but it's basically the exact same size as the master bedroom. So basically two master bedrooms. So that could be like a teenager's room or something. You could fit multiple generations of people in here, but there are three bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and then an outdoor dining deck, kind of. That's that thing behind, yeah, that square uncovered area is the dining deck. I'm not entirely so sure that this. I did use things from the seasons pack in here, but because the eating area is outdoors, then you might not want to. You might want to like wall that up for the winter if you want to. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but it's kind of outdoorsy. Because I figured that you'd take it if you wanted to build a giant tree multi-complex, then you'd appreciate the outdoors, I would assume. And so the aesthetic that we were going for was kind of a like dark wood meets iron type look for the outside, and then for the inside rooms, just kind of a classic like family, a lot of white, a lot of sort of neutral tones, and then the guest bedroom ended up being kind of bright and green, but that was just because I didn't want all the rooms to end up looking the same. So there is that. And yeah, I wanted it to be very light and bright and airy, so I added these really huge windows, and most of the rooms have entire walls covered in windows. I made some interesting curtain choices in most of the rooms. So if you download this house and you don't like them, then feel free to change it. But I kind of just did what I could because I like having the option of curtains. If I lived in a giant glass house, I would love to have the ability to, have curtains, have blinds, uh, you know, on days when I don't want to be blinded by morning sunlight. I would want to be able to pull that down. So I made some interesting curtain choices in here. Some rooms have curtains, some rooms don't, but it's just kind of hard to make giant Sims curtains look good on every single wall. So, you know, you'll see in a bit when it gets to decorating, but we're just throwing down some doors, some giant windows. Pretty much trying to make it so that, any room you're in, you can kind of see what's going on with the rest of the house. And then the tall structure on that middle tree is going to end up being the kitchen, because as they say, the kitchen is the heart of the home. And so I put it right smack in the middle of everything. And it's just up the stairs from the dining area. And so I did not put any supports like pillars or anything under these buildings. And so, if someone were to actually build this in real life, this would be entirely structurally unsound. It wouldn't make any sense at all, but I just thought that putting pillars under the corners of every single thing would kind of defeat the whole treehouse purpose and aesthetic, and it would just sort of clutter up the ground level. So, it's just wide open, teetering, hanging there, suspended in the air, and don't try to build this thing in real life because it would not work out. I like to do a lot of my building with the sun turned off at night, and especially this, I just wanted it to be so super cozy at night, and because it is kind of hard to see everything at once because of all the tree cover, I wanted everything to be decently well lit for the nighttime. And then these little lanterns, I'm going to be moving them in a second because they don't make any sense there, but sizing them down and sticking them in the dining area I just thought was really cute. If I had more lanterns in The Sims, I would have put them literally absolutely everywhere, but I didn't want to just cover the entire place in lanterns. Although, if you go into the gallery and download this house, feel free to put those lanterns everywhere. I just took them, sized them down like 3 times, and then raised them up so that they were where I wanted them to be. Because those lanterns, specifically, I think, really like to be in medium or tall wall heights. And I generally stick to normal wall heights, like the lowest, or medium. Often I do medium. I almost never do tall wall heights in The Sims just because they're too darn tall. And the walls look extremely empty. And compared to the size of your Sims, like just the tall wall heights look wild to me. So I never do tall wall heights. But here we go with the kitchen. I very rarely use these sort of industrial looking countertops, but I figured that it worked with the iron and wood look that we were going for. And so just make sure that when you guys are building your kitchens that you actually check out all of the options for the counters, because for this one specifically, I thought that it looked kind of weird that all of the counters were aesthetically exactly the same, and then I realized that the end counters, had this little open area on the sides, and so I was like, oh, that's perfect. That'll sort of break it up a little bit. And then I liked the look of the sort of old timey stove and fridge. And it doesn't make a ton of sense because these people who live here are pretty modern, like you'll see later, they've got a nice big TV and living room area and plenty of computers around. But I just really liked the look of the sort of wood burning stove. And also, um, it doesn't, if someone were to actually build this, I don't know how the plumbing would work. I don't know at all how the plumbing would work. And so I figured wood burning stove would make the most sense. And then I'll put I think it's actually an air conditioner, but later at the end when I'm doing little details, I'll put a vent on top. And so those plates and bowls and these cups right here that I'm putting on shelves, I really like to do that to insinuate the concept of open shelving. But they're not actually available in the sort of item selector. So you have to do the show hidden objects cheat, and then you have to specifically type in plates, bowls, and then glass. If you type cups, you won't find those empty cups. And then, and so then you can find those and you can put them, as open shelving all around everywhere, all around your kitchens, which is what I always like to do. And then under shelving lighting I really like to do also because it just makes everything clearer and you don't have to clutter up your space with tons of overhead lights because they're all just cute and hiding under the counters. And so we're almost done with the kitchen, and so we're moving on to this is going to be the living room. I didn't really have a specific aesthetic in mind when I started decorating all of these rooms. I just knew that I wanted the sort of wood slat walls. Sometimes I'll use this horizontal shiplap type wallpaper, and then sometimes I'll use a skinnier, sort of more vertical pinstripe wood wallpaper. But so for this one, I went for like a blue, sort of colorful, and lots of wood all over the place. And then those rattan chairs I used pretty much throughout the build. I just thought that they made sense because they're sort of modern but also pretty rustic. And then in a lot of the rooms around this build, you'll see that I put that's a coffee table. And I think that's a dining table, actually. I'll put tables around the tree stumps because I just figured that, you'd want to turn the tree in the middle of all of your rooms into some sort of functional thing. If I could have put cushions on there, like if there were individual cushions in the item selector, then I would have. But instead I I'll put some books down there in a second. And I just turned it into sort of like a shelf and a lighting feature type situation. So, if you guys ever do a build that involves something kind of weird, just turn it into a feature. Just, incorporate it into your build so it's not just some weird tree sticking straight up in the middle of your house. Yeah, so I just covered it in books. Even though there are bookshelves, I figured these people are, they're not going to get much TV reception out here in the woods, on their cliffside lot, and so they had plenty of books to read when the reception goes out. And then I think, oh yeah, so as you can see right there, I've got like trees clipping into each other, and just then I deleted the tree that was the correct tree and kept this incorrect tree that thinks it's inside and doesn't actually go all the way to the floor, but I'll realize later my mistake and I will fix it. But this is going to end up being the master bedroom. And here I go again, trying to fit in a separate toilet room, just because every grown person should have the ability to use the toilet without someone who's trying to wash their face in the bathroom at the same time. But I just didn't have space for it. And then, yeah, so the countertops are marble, which I thought was a little decadent for a treehouse, but it just looked really nice. And I liked the contrast of the white and the black. And so I was like, you know what? We're keeping it. We're just going to keep it. And then trying to throw in some closets. Ever since I got the pack that these built in closets come from, and I don't exactly remember which one it is, but some packs has a couple of built in closets, and I've been using them constantly since I downloaded that pack. I think they're a little bit bigger than they should be. Because as you can see, I put it down and it's clipping into the bathroom. Because they should be like two, 2 by 1, 2 by 1 squares, grid squares, but they're actually 2 by 2, which I think is entirely too big. But I still really like the built-in bookshelves or closets. I'll keep using them. But so we're just kind of going for like a soft neutral color all around this room. I I would really love for this type of concept to be like a really cool Airbnb. And also, I figure that this house would be gorgeous, mostly in almost every single season. I'd love to, if I do end up playing The Sims with this house, then I'll see how it looks in the winter and then maybe post a couple screenshots of that. But for now, we're just, trying to make it light and bright and cluttering up the bathroom a little bit. Almost all the bathrooms will look exactly the same throughout the build because I figure, like if the same person was building and decorating everything, then they would make all the bathrooms look basically the same. And I always use that sort of woven laundry day pack bath mat type carpet. I use it in bathrooms all the time just because it makes the most sense as a bath mat, I think. And then finishing it off with a ceiling fan, which every respectable master bedroom needs. So this is the kids' room, and I decorated it a little haphazardly, and mostly because I figured that like either 2 girls, 2 boys, or a boy. I decorated this for a boy and a girl, and so I tried to keep everything fairly gender neutral so that depending on what kid you put in here, it wouldn't take much changing to make it fit for whatever kid ends up in this room. Um, but yeah, so this bathroom is basically the same as the other bathroom. A couple of little different details here and there, but not really. And then I'll be rearranging the room so that we could also put a desk and a computer in here because I think it is, although I might in real life not necessarily let a kid have a computer and desk only for them in their bedroom. It's kind of important in The Sims so that the kids can, like do research and get their skills up and, do better at school and all that stuff. So I usually try to put a computer in kids and teens' bedrooms so that everyone can have their own computer and just have their computer time, skill building and stuff. And so, yeah, but we're not giving them the most expensive computer because they are children and they don't deserve it. And then I put that it's an outdoor lighting fixture, the sort of iron vertical bulb one, but I put it throughout pretty much the entire build, inside and outside, just because I thought it matched the sort of wood and iron aesthetic that we were going for. And then, of course, any kid's room's got to be covered in posters. It's a cliche that will never die, and you'll see it. In lots of Sims builds and in movies, everyone is like, "Oh, kids' room, posters. Just gonna put posters everywhere." And the posters in The Sims are actually really cute. Um, so earlier, you may have noticed that the size of the item bank down there sort of changed, and it's because when I first started playing, I changed the resolution of my screen, and then I had to do this in 3 different parts just because it took so long to build. But the second time I was building, I forgot to change the resolution, and then the third time I opened the game back up, I changed it again. And so to make it all fit, I kind of had to stretch the screen a little bit. And so I think it's back to normal by now. But if you noticed a change, then don't worry, I also noticed it. I did it on purpose. It was much worse before, so you are welcome. But like I said, this video took a ton of obsessive editing because of all of the trial and error to get the houses to be the way that they are without things floating and having like weird stairs. And the stairs were really pretty difficult to figure out, the stairs going from one level to another, because the Sims just doesn't really like it, doesn't want to let you have things on different foundation heights. Different foundation heights is really something that they could improve on maybe in a later update. But for now, it's it constricts your ability to do different things. And so, for example, one build that I really, really have been looking forward to doing is building the set from Frasier, because it's a super iconic apartment, and I wouldn't necessarily build it in one of the San Myshuno apartments because you can't change the shape of the rooms to a certain extent. But I just wanted to build it in The Sims and then like make those Sims and then play them for a little bit. But I couldn't do it because one of the like really important elements of that apartment in the show Frasier is that it's a split level. So you've got like one step up towards the back of the apartment and then it's sunken in the front, and you can't really do that in The Sims. I mean, you kind of can, but because you can put something on a foundation level and then just delete it and then put stairs, but it gets really complicated, and then doors are really complicated when it comes to split level because the door wants to jump up to the foundation level, and if you've deleted the foundation, it's just a whole thing. So until they kind of patch that, which they may never patch that because they've got bigger fish to fry than just foundation heights. But until they patch that, we can't really have nice things. But so decorating the outside, I just kind of did put in nothing, to with any specific aesthetic in mind, but just the kinds of things that I would put if I were to live in this area, this treehouse house. And so we've got like a little seating area in the entrance. I'm calling that the entrance. I don't actually even know what the front of this lot is because I like I said, did not play test it, so I don't know. I put a mailbox down later, but I don't know if I actually put it in the front of the lot. I just assumed that was the front of the lot because the other side of the lot is a cliff, and it wouldn't make any sense for that to be the front. So that's where I put the mailbox. That's where it's going to go. Sorry if it's not the front. But as I was saying, at the front, we have a sort of loungy, talking, sitting, chatting area. And then above that, we have a sort of logic building chess table. And then I put the loungy area on the lower level just because, if it were raining, you could sit there and not get rained on. And I think it would be really peaceful to sit there while it was raining. And so after everything was built, I sort of raised the foundation level again, or not foundation, the ground level just a little bit again, just to give it a little bit of interest. And the landscaping was kind of haphazard. I didn't have, like I said, for most of this, I didn't have an exact plan in mind. I just kind of wanted to integrate it into the landscaping that was around the this lot. And speaking of integrating this lot, if you zoom out into the world, or if you look at this lot from the world map, it looks kind of crazy because I upsized the trees so much. So, sorry about that. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, but I'm not too obsessive about having my builds integrated into the worlds that I put them in. I just kind of build things wherever I want to, and so that was kind of the deal with this. So if you download this and then look at the map and you're like, wow, that looks crazy, that builder didn't think about it, then you're right, I didn't. I really didn't, but it doesn't bother me too much. It just kind of looks like a place that just randomly has giant trees, but they're kind of similar to the trees that exist in Windermere. I think it's in Windermere, so it doesn't bother me too much, but we just have little patches of growth and plants and a couple of stones. I thought about putting in a pond, but I was like, that would just be a little too much, like we can't have it all. If you're going to have an idyllic treehouse complex, then you can't also have a pond because that's just a lot, Like it's already nice enough as it is. Adding a pond would just make it perfect, and we can't have perfect, So, um, adding a little outdoor seating just to make everything look nice and full and taken care of. I added a couple details like those little flags on the outside. I always forget to put in a trash can in the kitchen, so I made sure to do that. But we are about at the end, you guys. So if you want to go download this, go download it from the gallery. But I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.